If you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
This is another of our popular Listener's Choice interviews, which we're playing over the weekend. We've chosen the most popular interviews for you to select the Listener's Choice winner. If you're not sure how the Listener's Choice competition works, have a look at horsechats.com/choice for the rules and the leaderboard. Today's chat's been brought to you by International Horse College. We have a mission to improve the welfare of horses throughout the world through the safe education of riders, handlers and trainers, and that's what these chats are all about. Registered Training Organisation 31352. Our guest today on Horse Chats is Michelle Kelly. How are you today, Shelley?
I'm very well, Glenys, and thank you so much for having me back onto Horse Chats. I find it so interesting and informative to be listening to all my fellow equestrians and their stories.
All right, well, it's lovely to have you back, Shelley, and we talked to you before in episode 52, and the listeners obviously liked you because they had you back on one of our Listeners' Choice episodes. You know, we only use the most listened to episodes for that, so you must be pretty popular yourself.
Oh, that's very nice to know. Thank you.
Now, Shelley, the 10 tips for improving competition results. Why did you choose that subject? You know, I mean, you've had some great competition, your results yourself. And if people would like to know a bit more about her background, go and have a listen. Michelle Kelly, episode 52, or just go to horsechats.com. And I think you can search for Michelle, search for Shelley, or search for Kelly, and you'll find those details. But tell us about the competition results. We know your competition performance results are excellent, but the actual subject?
I think probably from a coach's point of view and from a previous competition competitor, I find the whole goal, the whole end result is improving the competition results. I think years ago, probably the little bit of difference with us older competitors was the competition, it was about business. It was about making the horses the prize money was paramount. It was keeping the horses sound and well to perform over a very long season. You know, we did 48 shows in a year. The horses had to earn money to keep going, so therefore the competition result and the management of those horses was paramount. So improving the competition results was really the end goal of everybody.
Yep. Okay, I can see the importance there. Now, the first tip you've got is the management plan. So tell us about the management plan.
I think initially, I always say, even today to my clients, is the riding is the easy part. The actual going and getting on the horse and going around the show jump course is the easy part. The very difficult part is the management plan of the whole horse and rider, or whatever your sort of long-term goals are, keeping them sound, keeping them well, keeping yourself sound, keeping them well. So having a management plan is absolutely paramount for improving competition results. It's a very big document as such. It's a very big enterprise for you to embark on. I think that's where coaches probably need to assist riders to do that. But having a management plan is for everything really, but particularly for keeping athletes performing is vital.
Yep. And I think we're going to talk now on our other points is to go into depth within that management plan, which is great because you've just said how vital it is, but we can talk in depth about some of these things that go into the management plan as well. I think the first one you've got is your training and exercise program.
Yes, I think, putting together with your coach, but I think to actually achieve the end goal, you have to have an exercise program for horse and rider from the beginning. What we find is with athletes, we actually break down all the required tasks that we need and even bring it down to like a physiological analysis of what those tasks happen to be. Now, the task might be just, a show jumping competition that you need to be jumping, you need a 30-metre 40, something like that. Then you come down to like a physiological analysis, like, okay, we need to make sure that we, things like takeoff, landing, turning, jumping large obstacles, travelling on different surfaces, and right back to sort of muscle, bone, ligament programs. We then break it down even further and do like weekly, monthly and long term. So what are we going to do, like general fitness, aerobic, muscular endurance, power, agility, all the same things that you would do for an athlete, and what are, like environment training, like atmosphere, night, day, surfaces, different weather, which we used to come across all the time. And I find these days that because they're not competing as much as what we did years ago, they don't have the advantage of sort of, for instance, riding in the rain all the time. Not that there's any rain lately anyway. But, we at least competing for that amount of time, we did get a lot of jumping out of mud, jumping, hard ground. So just those aims and objectives, and then breaking it down to, weekly, monthly, yearly, depending on what the long-term goals are. So it's quite an involved plan that you put together with all your coaches and your support people.
Yeah, yeah. And it would be like you've got the training, just even the different courses, the different surfaces, everything else. It would be a different plan for each horse, wouldn't it? Even if the same horses are similar, competing similar competitions, you've still got to have an individual for each horse.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, our aims are to maintain the recovery, bones, joints, ligaments, increase the aerobic and muscular endurance, rideability, jumping skills, etc. But each horse would definitely have their own plan, and possibly each horse would have their training plan. Like an example, Monday might be general fitness, or it might be a day off if it's a Sunday comp. You might have flat work training incorporating some poles and jump recovery maybe Tuesday, Wednesday. You might do some, long, slow distance interval training. You might do, I used to call it jump gym,
Yes.
a day where they're actually doing agility, and then you might do some active recovery. It might be a swim, or it might be just going for a general ride, or a day in the paddock, depending on, circumstances and horses.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right, now coming on to point number 3 here, which is important dates. Now, you said you had 48 competitions a year. So tell us about what sort of full yearly calendar you would have. What would you do? Look at the shows at the beginning of the year and then go from there? Or tell us a bit more about this full yearly calendar.
Well, yes, what we would do is we'd actually get a calendar, January through to December, and go, all right, now let's fill it in. So normally in our mind, it seemed a bit silly, but in our mind, our season started August. Say we said Brisbane Royal, for instance, or the run up Queensland. So the horses would get possibly late June, June normally off, and then July they'd sort of come back in, and we'd go to Queensland in August, which is what they do a little bit now. They head to, to the warmer countries.
Yes.
They go up to Queensland in our winter. I'm based in Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
So then we would go up there, and possibly the main event would be, at that stage it was Brisbane Royal. The Ekka was very popular then.
Yep.
And then we'd manage the horses to the ones that, we wanted to maybe win the Grand Prix there. All their classes would be managed to set that particular horse for that particular event. So there would be, and there would be a warm-up show, say, where you mightn't say, okay, I don't want that horse to necessarily win at that show, but I'd like him to, get all the skills that he needs to win at the next show, because that might have more money, or, that's the show that you want to win. It was very prize money driven in those days, because that was the only way we could all keep going. Not too many people sold their horses. So, it was very important if if we burnt them out or overdid them or injured them, there was not going to be any prize money. So it was very, very important. We managed that. And then, you'd then come back. There was a lovely August run. There'd be some things in September. You might go to Adelaide, Melbourne. There was a lovely August run where sort of like Western New South Wales. You'd come back and then you'd have you might do Melbourne Roll, you might do a couple of shows. There was a lovely run November, December in Sale, Wodonga, down Shepparton, down in Victoria. So you'd go down there for a couple of weeks, then you'd come back and finish with some shows in Sydney in sort of December, and you'd have then the run-up, all the agricultural shows and the good shows through till Sydney Royal in Sydney.
Okay. And that was, what, Easter?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So your main show then, all that January, February would be building up to then be competing at the Sydney show, Royal Easter show.
Yes.
That was a really big one. We had a brilliant show at Wentworth Park many years ago. We all very much planned. We had a management plan that each one of us wanted to win there no matter what. So that was in January. That was a very big show to organise ourselves for. So, we sit down and we virtually knock out the year's plan, maybe other competitions. If there was any training or clinics, not that we really had time, we learnt on the job in those days.
So it sounds like you worked out your big competitions and then you worked out your smaller competitions leading up to the big competitions, but you also worked out your schooling competitions where you want to give the horse a run in the lead up to the smaller competitions that then would lead up to the bigger competitions.
Exactly. And we would use, in those days there was classes like speed classes, there was top scores, rescue relays, that sort of thing. The rescue relays might have been a little bit smaller in height. The top scores and accumulators would be quite big in height. We had 6 bars and puissances if we wanted to give some of our horses a bit of a look at some bigger fences. Put them in those classes, or you'd put them in a 6 bar to give them that agility run, or you'd put them in a 6 bar because it was worth a lot of money and you actually needed the money.
Yes, yes.
But it was the bigger the main horses for the main big competitions. You then recover and nurse, and the other ones, the younger ones coming through, you pick as many suitable classes for them to be able to, get them to the goal, whatever they were going to do.
Shelley, how many horses did you have in the team and that? Because it was just you and your husband riding, or how many riders, how many horses within your team?
There was my husband, John, and myself, and we had up to 9 horses.
Yep.
We had a 10-horse truck, and then we had a semi. But the minimum horses, which is when we started not to travel quite so much, the minimum amount of horses that we would take away would be 6. But it wasn't. We actually travelled quite a bit with actually 9 horses.
Okay.
So the management was a really big, and it would be very organised. We would know every day pretty much what the goal was for that particular horse at that particular show. And again, very much around prize money. Everyone would sit down. A couple of the riders were brilliant at sitting down and knowing exactly how much money was to be won at that particular show.
Yeah. Obviously spent a bit of time going over the figures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we had to always come out that we paid, costs and entries.
Yes.
And we had to have money in our pockets to go on to the next show.
Yeah. What about taking us on to point number 4 now? You've got support and professional information. Tell us a bit how this plays into your management plan. And I'm also interested that even though you might have your local professionals, what happens when you're travelling and you need a professional? So if you can talk about that.
Well, I think it's very important to have, it's a whole team. It takes a village to make like anything.
Yep.
So you need your team around you. I mean, we were incredibly lucky living in Camden. Professor Hutchins, who was the top vet at the University of Sydney at that time, was our vet. He would advise us on a lot of, management plan. For the horses, we had our vets, our farriers, our feed, our feed personnel. But then when we travelled away, we often would have people in different areas that we might rely on. We'd ring them and say, would we be able to organise some feed? You got to know, like, feed merchants, you got to know vets, you got to know even people, fellow competitors that might be skilled in another way. There might be somebody travelling that might have been a dentist or a chiropractor. There was chiropractors, people that did that sort of stuff that travelled as well, that they would, you get them sort of checking the horses while they're out there. Mechanics were a very important part of the support and professional information. So there was a very big networking. It was almost like every area, whether it be, Queensland, Melbourne, outback, New South Wales, Victoria, you would make sure that you had numbers of somebody that would be able to help from a vet, a farrier point of view. You would also, more now than before, you would have people that would be able to help you. Part of the plan was to keep yourself going as well. I mean, if you were injured or you were sore or you were stiff or something like that and you couldn't ride very well, you weren't going to be of any value to the team whatsoever. So I think we had a list of in those days, before mobile phones, of course, I'm very old.
Yeah.
We had a list of phone numbers and a very large networking. I think even now we could almost ring any place on the eastern seaboard and know somebody that, could give us the vet, the farrier, the mechanic, the doctor, the physio, somebody. So it's very networking and keeping that support personnel was very important. And now I must admit that none of the clients that I coach, we're incredibly lucky to have, like Roman Bell, who's our Olympic team vet now. He very luckily is the head vet at the University of Sydney now, and he's a performance vet, and he keeps a lot of horses. He's a wonderful physiological rehab vet for performance horses. So, I virtually don't coach anybody that doesn't realise the importance of nutrition and training and, regular vet support personnel to manage their horses, farriers, etc. So, vitally important support network.
Yeah, and I like the way you call, it's the team, isn't it? It's the whole team.
Yes. I just, and I mean, I don't have those skills. So we certainly used to, Professor Dave Hutchins and Stephen McClintock looked after our horses all the time, and every time we left to go somewhere, I would make sure that they would give me the suitable veterinary, veterinary products they felt that we needed to take with us on a long, and also, what we should do if, we did get an injury, and sometimes we'd go and actually watch them do some stuff just in case. I mean, John and I did have to, when a horse cut itself in a whoop-whoop situation, we actually, between us both, had to just do some general stitching. I don't know whether that should be public, but we did that. But we did, and we did an okay job, and, Prof said, here's the gear, this is what you do if this happens. It wasn't huge and it wasn't life-threatening.
Yep.
But we did end up, doing things like that when we had to, because, you might have been in the middle of Queensland somewhere and you had to do it anyway.
All right, now this takes us on to point number 5, is throughout this you've talked about different pressures, right? So you've talked about it always being about the money, you've talked about competition, pressure and injuries, but it's not just the pressure, it's the strategies to deal with them. And this is the point number 5, is using the strategies to deal with the pressure. So tell us a bit about that and what sort of strategies you use, because I think this is a big lesson to learn from different people who are under a little bit of pressure and can't deal with it. But you must have been under enormous pressure, while you were doing that. So, yeah, if you can tell us about that.
Yes, we were, there was a lot of pressure and there's a lot of things that could go wrong. Even now I say that in the very beginning you should write down your source of pressure that are going to sabotage your competition results. Now, that might even be, I'm very fearful of falling off and hurting myself. So it's like, all right, well, we need to put a strategy in place to work through that, because that's absolutely going to sabotage you. But also things, just basic things like finances. Do I have enough money, to be able to travel to such and such? What if I go to the show and don't earn anything? What am I going to do if I'm stranded, whatever? So I need a strategy to put in place that, there's at least some money to get home. We were coming back from Melbourne one time and it was like, we didn't have such a good show. And John said, I don't know whether we've got enough fuel.
Oh, no.
Enough, yeah. Or whether we've got enough funds to even put the fuel in the truck to get home. We better call into this show and hope that we earn some money.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember we went from Melbourne to Wagga, called into Wagga. Luckily, we actually won quite a lot of money, which was wonderful, and got ourselves home. But we actually did get ourselves in a situation, 9 horses, a truck and a big caravan and everything we used to travel with in those days. Yeah. So it was like, okay, this is the pressure. So how are we sort of going to deal with that? And I think in the end we had to things that were in our control, things that were out of our control. Okay. And we didn't ever want to ring our parents and go, could you put some money in the bank, because they were going, could you really be travelling all over the countryside? So we actually wanted to say, well, we can't do this ourselves. No, we're going to do it ourselves. But a lot of people think, like finance, distance, that they live a long way away. And I even had somebody that said, okay, my biggest source of pressure is my mother's always really late getting me to the show. So I'm going, oh, okay, I think we can deal with that. Or I'm fine when I'm at jump club, but I'm really nervous when it's a competition day. Or I'm fine unless they call it a Grand Prix. Or I'm fine unless I get on that horse. Or there's a lot of, I say, you write down, like you get up and you sit down and you go, okay, what is my main source of pressure from the moment I get up till the moment I go to sleep? What will be the things that are going to worry you the most? And then I say, the more that you worry, the more energy the brain's going to use to worry about that anyway. Is that something you control, or is it not? That person rides better than me, or that horse is better than me. And it's like, well, that's a total waste of time to be thinking about that, because there's always going to be someone that's better than you, and there's always going to be a horse that's better than yours. So let's just let that one go. But your pre-nerve pressure before you go into the class, if you're getting very anxious, let's work on changing the anxiety that's going to sabotage your performance, to use that stress to actually up your performance. And I think that's one of the big things that I learned. Being a bit of a perfectionist, it was like, oh, no, that was not good enough, so I'd stress myself about that's not good enough. And then in the end, it's like I changed it to the more pressure I was under, the better I performed. Mm-hmm. So I think having a few people, John and his father was amazing at just keeping things, calm and you can do it and, off you go sort of thing, believing in me, that sort of stuff. And I think, I've had a couple of clients recently that sort of didn't perform in certain situations. And I went, hang on, you're a very, very talented rider. You know, you've got a good horse. You're letting something. Oh, no, I'm not. And I'm going, I think you are. Let's just have a little chat about that. You know, they go out and perform brilliantly. You know, those sort of things.
Yeah, no, that's good. And it's something that we've talked about before on the show. It's a big deal. You know, it's a really big deal that people can be very good, have lots of talent, have talented horse, and do well in small competitions or at home, and then get to a big one, which is not out of their depth. It's quite within their scope of what they can do, but all of a sudden they can't perform. So that whole mindset, it really is a big deal, isn't it?
Exactly. And I think giving them strategies to sort of deal with that, but also just, you know, I always say if you're confident in your skills and you're confident, you know, and your horse can do it, then go and enjoy it. Stop sabotaging your performance by worrying about something that probably won't happen anyway. And then I say, what's the worst thing that can happen? Like you go out, you fall off. Okay, that's something that you've got to realise that can happen. You go out and you stop out at the first fence and you think the whole stadium is laughing at you. They're not. They're more or less going, how brave are they to go out and do it anyway?
Mm.
But also feel that. Because I say, you know, it will happen. It's happened to us all.
Yep.
It's happened to us all. We've got, you know, done everything and then we go out and fall off or stop out or, you know, hurt ourselves or something. And then, you know, you've got to sort of feel it, deal with it, and on you go. You use it to your benefit. Use all those things. I say picking ourselves, how do we learn? Picking ourselves up off the ground.
Mm.
Okay, maybe that was but we're not worried about the fact that we've actually fallen off. It's like, oh, my God, we've fallen off. It's like, yes, you've fallen off, up again.
Yep.
So it's not, you know, it's not the big deal you think it is.
Yes. Yes.
Probably being a bit harsh there.
No, that's good. If you're an equestrian coach or a horse riding instructor, or even if you aspire to be one, have a look at the free video series for horse riding instructors on the Horse Chats website. Go there now, have a look, horsechats.com. All the time, right through these 10 tips, we've done 5 and we're about to start number 6, you've had an absolute passion for this lifestyle. You know, and it is a lifestyle. I haven't done it to the level that you've done it, but I've been there. I've been on the road, and the camaraderie between the other competitors, who are your competitors, they're looking for prize money as well. But there's still a lot of friendship between all the competitors, and it's a lifestyle. But this one now, point number 6, is the life balances strategy, because you've still got a family, you've still got other things that, you know, coming back to real life, I suppose. You've sort of got one lifestyle, but coming back to real life and balancing your life. What have you got to say about that, about the life balance strategies?
Well, I think one of the things that we found really hard, because we actually decided that, you know, this is what we wanted to do and we travelled so much, we actually missed out on a lot of, you know, family you know, weddings or friends, whatever, they were, you know, they kept us in the loop, but a lot of times, oh, sorry, we're in Queensland, oh, sorry, we're in Melbourne, oh, sorry, we're wherever.
Yep.
But I think looking back now, and particularly the fact that we're old and we're actually now retired from competition, one of the things that I'm probably passionate about is life after competition.
Yes.
And also if you're injured, like, and it's happened to us all. You know, I remember I broke my leg, so I was out of competition for a while. Things like what other life balances are you going to do to actually keep that life balance? And also, if the only thing you do is just compete show jumping and that's it, if you have a bad result or your competition results aren't what you want, then you're going to dwell on that. You're going to sabotage. You're going to be very, very upset in your life because that's not going well. So if you have something else in life, or you have a life balance strategy, or you can come back and do something else, then it's not going to be the humongous sort of deal that you think that it may be. I think too, being honest now, I'm a great one at my poor younger clients. I've insisted that they've all gone off and done some sort of study. We see it a lot with athletes that have not done any study or any other qualification of any sort, that when things don't go well in the sport, you've got to have something else that will keep you happy physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, the whole lot, to keep you actually going when that particular physical athleticism is not there. I, my poor ones, I've sent them off to university in TAFE and goodness knows what, and absolutely insisted I won't teach anybody if they're a young person that isn't doing some sort of further study.
Yes.
I think it's so important, like things like relaxation, that sort of stuff as well. So,
look, I have to absolutely, totally agree. And I think myself as a competitor, I've always wanted to study, and I think that's why I've started the registered training organisation, Online Horse College, because life as an athlete, even though equine athletes last a lot longer, but it's limited. And if you want to stay within the profession of horses, there's so many different other ways and different other paths that you can go down. Still even having the horses as a background, I think it's just really widening up now that you can use other skills to complement your horse knowledge, other study to complement, or you can just go on to horse-related study. There's just so much there and so many opportunities. And I think that if you're not going on and doing that ongoing study and learning, that's where you get left behind, and you're just someone who's learnt to ride a horse but they can't ride anymore physically, and you don't have any other skills.
No. And I mean, we're incredibly with what you've started, with horse chats and all the horse-related sort of learning and study is amazing, and that's really probably what sent me on that path. I decided I wanted to be a little bit better coach, knowing a little bit more about related fitness and all that sort of stuff, and did a fitness diploma at TAFE, and then went on to university, and then did a master's, and still am now an ex-physiologist. So, I was incredibly lucky that, a door opened and I was retiring basically.
But you've still got to step through the door, haven't you? You might say a door open, but you saw the open door and you stepped through it, and then you can use something to complement what you were doing. Yeah.
I think as coaches, it's something that we need to be very aware of, in that particularly us older ones is, well, hang on, you can't ride forever.
Yep.
And you can't necessarily just be a coach forever either. So, you need that.
And not only that, it's not just that we can't do it forever, but there's different, like the working with horses is changing and evolving and everything as well. We need more skills. It's not just saying, right, well, I've got it now. I've got this qualification. I'll sit on it for the rest of my life. It's keep going and keep following the pathway that fits you the best.
Absolutely. And the continual learning in everything is amazing. I mean, that gives you a lovely life. Yes.
So just taking us back to point number 6, you've said about the life balance strategies for study and relaxation. So what are you saying, that just take some time off for that? Or how do people do it if that's what they're passionate about, is, following, but it's more the point of making sure that you've got some study and a little bit more of a broader aspect when you've finished your life after competitions?
Yes, I think that again is, what are you going to do after your after your competition years, and some people, it's like, well, I like such and such. Well, maybe sort of look to have some sort of plan, because I think that takes the pressure off you too. So, well, I've got that sorted. Which probably brings me a little bit into the next point, the injuries to horse and rider.
Okay, this is point number 7, injuries to horse and rider, yep.
Yeah, so it probably brings me a little bit into that one as well, likely injuries and strategies to deal with this. So, I mean, over the years with 9 horses, there would be different, injuries and, ligaments and tendons or,
Sure.
sickness
Yep.
or colic, whatever, over the years. So, obviously you've got to have strategies to deal with that. And, of course, we fall off and, of course, we, have injuries to ourselves as well. So that's where it sort of links a little bit through this life balance strategy. Well, okay, I'm injured, so there's going to be some time off. What am I going to do now? What can I do depending on the injury of the horse as well? So the horse, okay, it's got to have 6 weeks off or 6 months off or whatever. So, what am I going to do through that time? What other things can I do? Can I put something in place, or, can I just continue on and, be the groom or, the person that's holding the horses or whatever? But I think you still have to have that life balance. I was probably very lucky in the fact my girlfriends from school are all very arty, interior design and artists and musicians, and which I'm not good at all. But I was dragged around, which is just beautiful, and still am, which I love them so much. So, whenever I was at home, there was always the invitation to, let's go to an art gallery, let's go to an orchestra. One of my girlfriends is in an orchestra. And, let's go and look at all these sculptures, whatever. So my whole riding life, I was very lucky that they were able to keep me in the loop of, if you're in Sydney, we're going to go to this exhibition, blah, blah. So my whole riding life, I was very lucky to be sort of taken to all this, which I knew nothing about, obviously, but had the most amazing life balance with these beautiful girls taking me to galleries, etc., which when I look back now, I am eternally grateful for that life balance that they actually gave me. And now my great love is skiing, and I go skiing in Japan every January with another group of friends and look forward to that. So I'm very still involved with horses and love it. And, if I wasn't old, I would be still wanting to jump. I look at the Grand Prix and I go, God, if I could just grab a horse and jump on and go.
Yeah.
Very sidelines for us oldies are very hard. But then knowing that I have these life balances now and also can help people through coaching and that is vital. I think I'm a very bitter old person that...
Yes, if that's all you've known and you want to, and you're angry that you can't get back to it. Yeah.
So now I'm, the art gallery's fantastic.
That's good, isn't it? All right. Now, point number 8 is the administration and the documentation. This is what else needs to go within the management plan. Administration, documentation. Just out of interest, did you always have something that you kept these in the truck with you? Did you take them out? You always kept them there?
Oh, yes. We always had to have our jumping cards.
Yep.
Now, if we didn't write on cards, because our cards, they were just a physical card, and we send them in to EA or EFA it was then, and they were stamped. And if not, they could technically stop us at a show if we didn't present our cards, if the cards weren't up to date, get into trouble. So we had to have a little briefcase or whatever it was. Now, if you went to get your prize money, they had to sign your card that, you got first in the whatever. So therefore, we will now hand your prize money to you because we've actually signed your card. So it was a big drama if you had lost your card, left your card, whatever, and they were within their rights to stop you if you weren't a member. They could check it out. If you didn't have your card and the appropriate card for the appropriate horse, they could withhold your prize money, which, of course, was the worst thing that happened to anyone in those days.
Yes, especially when you needed money to get put in the truck to get fuel, to go home.
Yes.
Yep.
So, I mean, now it's, they've got passports and all that sort of stuff. So it was incredibly important to make sure that we were up to date with our membership and we had some sort of, probably a letter or something in those days. and all our jumping cards, and they were up to date. And then also we had this performance book because all the big royals, you had to put in your performance.
Yes.
So we had a file, which I still say to everyone, you must keep this file because, number one, you've got to have the performance if you're going to go to royals. And number two, you need to analyse your results. So you need to have a look at, you need to be writing all your results every week. You know, I got 4 faults in this, or I won this, or third in this, whatever. So you're analysing the results anyway. We rode for a lot of owners. So the owners always, you know, how did you go? Well, I just opened the book because, you know, I couldn't remember from one show to the next. Half the time there were 9 of them. And I would just have the book in front of me and go, oh, you know, we got third in this and then second in this and blah, blah, blah. So we kept a folder with all the horses' performances. And then in the end, when, you know, it evolved to videos. Back in the days of the big video, you know, the VCR
huge cameras,
big caravan. Yes, huge cameras. We actually would video as much as we could and then come home and put every horse had its own VCR video.
Yep.
So number one, we were the owners, but number two, we would then sit down when we got home and we go, okay, we put in, you know, Jack's video, and we'd watch. So every new video would go on to that. So we might have, that might be for a whole year, and we might go back and go, oh, look what he's done in that year. Or, oh, you know, he keeps doing that. Or, yeah, but you do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So,
yes.
So videos became very much, which they are now, but I remember they were fairly new then. So we had a lot of videos, and we'd be quite tough on ourselves and go, well, you know, you're doing that all the time. So maybe that's why they're having 4 faults and you're losing $500 every show because of your foot or your finger.
Yep.
So, yeah, it would be quite so all those, so your jumping cards, your videos, your folder of performance, all that sort of stuff. And then it was kept in, I had a special spot, you know, in the truck or the caravan or the, you know, we had a semi in the end. So there was a special cupboard that you could just easily access in like a briefcase.
Yes. Yep. I think that's good. Just on your phone, isn't it? Let's go along to number 9. We've got education. That's point number 9.
So education is more, you know, I guess whether it's education for you, whether it's sort of workshops, whether it's, you know, like if any international, you know, coaches came over, what I found too is being lucky enough to be on the Sydney 2000 national squad for a few years. There was opportunities to do workshops with course builders, so like Leopoldo Palacios and recently Werner Deeg. I still take the opportunities to do workshops with people like that, you know, international riders or course builders, that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Now, of course, we do updates from a coaching point of view,
sure,
and all that sort of thing. So I think, you know, different clinics. I think just to keep up your education with what you're doing. You know, even like George Morris used to come over, and even if you weren't, I mean, I did clinics with him, but then I'd say to different clients or myself, I'd go, well, I'm just going to go and watch.
Yes.
So, I mean, you pay to go.
Still education in that. Yeah.
That's, you know, that's going to improve your competition results also, even just watching or looking. Now, of course, you've got all the, you know, podcasts, but again, which is a bit easy. You don't physically always go, and, you know, we're very grateful to you for things like that, where you can actually learn by listening and not getting in the car.
Listen, I learn, you know, you might learn by listening, but I learn a lot too. You know, I've sort of had horses and been in the horse industry all my life, but there's lots of things that I'm learning. Yeah. Let's go on to point number 10 here. This is hobbies and holidays. You sort of briefly talked about it before, but I think this is to do with your plan and your calendar and just fitting in those hobbies and holidays.
yes, I think it's the same as, like burnout. You can burn out as a competitor, you can burn out as a coach, you can burn out as a teacher, you can burn out. You've got to have something, I think, to look forward to. We certainly didn't have a lot of holidays. It wasn't until our children were born that I remember saying, now, we can't just cut them around shows, we've got to do something. So we'd go and have a week at the beach.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd go to a house and we'd go, okay, it's not fair for them just to be going around horse shows. So I think it's important for me now. Of course, it's off to Japan skiing, so it's something to look forward to. I think you've got to have that, again, back to that life balance. I think it's really,
yeah.
To have a break. You know what, I'm not going to do a show this weekend. I'm going to stay home and, do the gardening or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important to have something else, whether it be a hobby, whether it be a sport, whether it be, I'm just going to go camping or something like that. I think that, from an improving competition result, I think, again, it probably links in with the life balance.
Yes.
But I think have great. Even if it is going, different people now are going over to WEG or something like that, just to step away, because I think when you step away, you're all refreshed and you look back in and think, oh, I've got so, you get insular and so sort of like everything's a big drama and everything, and then you step out and you look back in and why was I worried about that?
Yeah.
Let's have fun.
Yeah.
So, I think it's important to have that as well. And certainly once we started to do that, it was much more pleasurable.
Good.
And competition results improved.
And that's why you do it anyway. It's because you enjoy it. Yeah. The emotional rewards, isn't it? Not the financial rewards. It's the emotional rewards.
Yeah. You've got to, and you've got to love your horse.
Yes. Yes.
I think that, and all that sort of puts together like the competition results. It's not just, okay, I need to learn to ride and the horse can jump and whatever. It's a big, broad picture to actually be able to do that, and then your results improve.
Good. Shelley, can we just go through and just do, because just for people, if they've missed one of these tips, if we just run through the 10 tips again, if you say a sentence or the main point or something for each of the tips, is that okay?
Yeah.
Yep. The number one was to have a management plan.
Yes, I think a written management plan, horse rider details, goals long and short term.
Yep, good. All right, number two is the training and exercise program.
Yep, so again, you break down all the physiological tasks, what is actually the aims and objectives for that training program for that particular horse and yourself, and you break that down and then work at sort of weekly, monthly, long-term programs for that.
Yeah, that was and the important dates is number three.
Yes, important dates is, you need to know your competition calendar, so you can also results analysis as well. You need to sort of work out your yearly calendar, what are the major competitions, other competitions, clinics, family commitments.
Yep.
So get the calendar beginning January through to December, fill it all in and work from there.
Okay. Number four is the support and professional information.
Well, you can't do it by yourself. It's not sort of sport to do, but also you've got to have a really management overview of all your support personnel, your vets, your farriers, your feed, your mechanic, your personal trainers, your exercise physiologist, physio, massage, Pilates instructor, as it is for me, your medical, your doctor, all your family numbers, your phone numbers, to have a really good, strong support personnel around you will certainly take a lot of pressure and assist you in performing.
Yep. All right, the number five then is the strategies to deal with the sources of pressure.
So it's virtually actually writing down all your sources of pressure. Like, is it an emotional source of pressure? Is it an anxiety? Is it finance? Is it distance? Is it family or peer pressure? Is it competition pressure? Is it that you've got some injury to you and your horse? You get things that are in control, your control, things that are out of your control. You've got to work out. You can do something about things that are in your control. Don't worry about the things that are out of your control. That's a waste of time and that'll sabotage you. Mm-hmm. So then every pressure that you can think of that might impede your competition results, you work through with your support crew, normally your family and your coach, etc., to put strategies in place to minimise that so it will not sabotage your performance.
Good. Okay, number 6 was the life balance strategies.
If all you do is just you have to perform in show jumping or horses or whatever and that's it, and you have no other life balance strategies, you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself anyway. So I feel that if you have something else in your life, whether it be, life after competition, whether it's, you've had some injury, you're doing some study, some relaxation, that you've got some life balance strategy that if you do get some not positive competition results, that your world's not going to fall apart.
Yep.
You like just get that balance back so you've got that emotional, spiritual, physiological, physical dimensions of wellness, that everything's covered. Mm-hmm. If you do fail in the competition arena, it's not the end of the world.
Okay. All right, number 7, this links back to the life balance strategies, is injuries to horse and rider, but the strategies and plans to deal with it.
Yes, there will be. It is a dangerous sport, and there will be. I don't know anyone that hasn't gone through the sport without injuries to oneself or injuries to the horses.
Yep.
So it's then, number one, like dealing with the fact that will, 100% possibly happen, and then dealing with injury, dealing with plans and strategies to sort of to deal with that, like what's going to happen if you do, hurt yourself. Mm-hmm. What are we going to do?
Yep.
But it's just, I'm going to put somebody else on my horse for that period of time. And I mean, that's a fairly common step. We were lucky because if I fell off and hurt myself, John rode them. If he fell off and hurt himself, I rode them. But if we got somebody else, if that's the case, or the horse goes out for a spell, or depending on our injury, what plans are we going to do to get us back going again?
Sure. Okay, number 8 was the administration and the documentation.
Yeah, just not to be caught short with, not knowing the rules, not having your appropriate passports or jumping cards as we had in those days, not getting to a show without, number one, knowing the rules. I mean, now it's all about, if your back boots are too heavy or the wrong back boots, you can be eliminated if you've got, knowing the rules and regulations. Don't put extra pressure on yourself not having all the appropriate documentation, membership, and knowledge of the rules with you. That's what stewards are for. Go up and ask them. I'm not quite sure about this. So don't get into a situation where you're not aware of the correct documentation that you must have to compete in the sport.
Okay, yep. The next one was the education.
Just continued education for yourself, like go to clinics, if there's an overseas competitor coming over, take advantage if you ever can. I find them incredibly interesting course building clinics, or even like, dressage instructors.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The fact that we're show jumping, then go to a dressage clinic, go to even something too about, now being an exercise physiologist, very good to go and actually learn about prehab sort of things, get onto some really good programs that you can do yourself to prevent injury, that sort of stuff.
Okay, good. All right, and then the next one, number 10, was the holidays and hobbies.
Yes, the fact that we're athletes and we're looking to improve competition results. I think sort of stepping out of that environment and having something to look forward to, whether it be a hobby or, a holiday. I mean, I do know some people that they do love painting, so they go and do, an artist retreat weekend. Say, this is a fellow. So you've got some sort of hobbies and holidays to sort of take you out of that environment and refresh you. I think and to have something to look forward to.
Yep. Good.
Because it's a tough sport.
Yes.
Anything to do with horses, all-consuming. It's tough. It's amazing. Teaches you all the life skills I think that anybody ever needs. And you really do need something to refresh you and keep you interested and a little bit out of the environment. To be able to look in and go, okay, it's not all doom and gloom.
Yeah, and that's a strategy for improving competition results. So it's not a strategy for improving competition results and you can also have a holiday. This is a strategy for improving the competition results. So I've got to say thank you to Michelle Kelly for giving us those tips. And it's not just the tips, Shelley, it was all the extra information you put in. You didn't just sort of say, well, here's my 10 tips, I'll just rattle them off. It's the broader picture. All of the information you gave us was absolutely brilliant. And coming from someone who did this as a profession, as their thing that they did for quite a few years, I think lots of experience there. And I think we've just got to, thank you for that. So thank you.
Oh, Glenys, and thank you so much. And I mean, I didn't put it together just all by myself. I had amazing support personnel around me in every shape or form. And thank you so much for having me on, and I hope it helps somebody. And I do commend you again. Congratulations on your wonderful Horse Chats and Learning platform. Learning is amazing, and I'm eternally grateful for what you do for us equestrian population.
Thank you, and hopefully we'll see you sometime again very soon.
Thank you very much, Glenys, and I so enjoy Horse Chats. I'm learning so much from all my fellow equestrians.
Yes, people that you've known for a long time, and some of the questions that I ask might be a little bit different to your general conversation with them.
I'm learning a lot.
Okay, see you, Shelley. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Glenys. Thank you. Bye.
If you've enjoyed this chat, then please comment, rate and subscribe. If you'd like any changes or recommendations for guests, then please contact us through horsechats.com. And while you're online, have a look at the government-accredited courses at internationalhorsecollege.com. Registered Training Organisation 31352.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.